Sometimes the night doesn't ask for promises. It only asks for presence. And in the hush of rainfall, beneath flickering streetlights and quiet breaths, two souls might find each other for a moment without needing to belong or to last. This is the memory of one such moment. Soft, silent, and enough. You didn't expect the rain. Not tonight, not in this part of the city where the sky usually forgets to cry. You had stepped out with your jacket slung over one arm, thinking only of air fresh, open, and free from the warmth of too many strangers pressed inside the bar. The laughter behind you fades quickly, leaving the sound of distant traffic and the quietest rustle of leaves overhead. You tilt your head upward just slightly, and that's when it happens. The first drop lands softly on your brow, then another on your cheek. As if the sky is touching you with fingers made of water, you pause under the dim halo of a street lamp, watching your shadow grow faint and flicker in the pooling light. Around you, the city is retreating into itself. A few people rush by jackets. Over their heads, phones gripped in damp palms. Cars pass with slow, deliberate sighs, their tires whispering against wet roads. But you don't rush. You stay. Standing still, letting the rain settle into the curve of your collarbone, the folds of your sleeves, the back of your neck. It's not cold, not yet. It's the kind of rain that wants to be listened to. The kind that doesn't demand shelter, only surrender. You close your eyes for a moment, long enough to feel the weight of your day dissolve at the edges. The night smells like asphalt, jasmine, and something unfamiliar like the breath of someone you haven't met yet, but somehow miss. Then you sense him. Not a sound, not a word, just the slight shift of air behind you, the faint pressure that comes when another body occupies your orbit. You turn slowly, and there he is. He's standing beneath the same flickering lamp, a few steps behind you, no umbrella in hand. The rain darkens his shirt and clings to his shoulders, but he doesn't seem to mind. His face is calm, eyes steady. There's something in the way he holds himself, like he isn't waiting for anything. Like the rain is exactly where he was meant to be. You think about speaking, but neither of you does. You look at him. He looks at you. There's no smile, no flirtation. Just recognition. Like you've stumbled into a memory you weren't supposed to find yet, and both of you are too careful to break it. He gestures not toward himself, but toward the sidewalk ahead. A small motion, a question in the shape of an offering. You hesitate, and then, without a word, you step forward, side by side. The two of you begin walking into the rain. Your steps are slow, not because you're unsure, but because there's nothing to race toward. You pass familiar shop fronts, their lights dimmed behind curtains, closed for the night. The patter of rain creates a rhythm that fills the spaces where words might go. It's not awkward. It's quiet in the way a soft blanket is quiet, safe. He doesn't speak. Neither do you. And yet the silence hums with something warm, something forming just beneath the surface of your skin. You glance sideways. His profile is serene. Water drips from the tip of his nose down his jawline. He notices you watching but doesn't turn to meet your gaze. It feels like both of you understand. This moment is still unfolding. Too soon for questions, too delicate for answers. So instead, you listen to the city breathing, to the rain deepening, to your own heartbeat as it begins to shift. There's something about walking with a stranger that invites honesty in ways conversation cannot. Your body is relaxed. Your guard softens. The path ahead is unwritten, And somehow that feels more freeing than frightening. The wind brushes your ankle, a breeze lifts the hem of your dress, cool and teasing, but you're not uncomfortable. You're just aware of your skin, of your breath, of his closeness without contact. You wonder if he feels the same, if his chest is echoing the same curious thrum that now resides in yours. The next block is quieter. The street narrows into a small residential row lined with trees, their leaves dripping slow tears. Here, the lamplight is gentler, the air more still. And here, without knowing why, you start to walk just a little closer. Not enough to touch, not yet. Just enough to feel the warmth of his presence through the damp space between you. He notices. You sense it in the subtle shift of his pace, the way he matches you stride for stride. You glance up at the windows above. Most are dark, some still glowing faintly with blue television light. Inside them, people are settling down for sleep, turning pages, whispering to partners, holding pillows. You wonder what stories fill their rooms. You wonder what yours will. Become Dottie turns to you then, just a little. A question flickers in his eyes. Not where are we going, but are you okay in this? You answer with the smallest nod, barely perceptible. But he sees it, and somehow that tiny gesture feels louder than words. You keep walking. The sidewalk turns slick underfoot, rain gathering in shallow puddles that reflect your movements like soft mirrors. You step around them, careful and graceful. Once he reaches his arm just slightly toward yours, guiding you away from a patch of broken concrete. His hand doesn't touch you, but the closeness sends a ripple through your skin, and now you're aware not just of him, but of yourself, of how your body feels moving beside someone whose name you do not know, how your breath falls into rhythm with his, how your heart opens just a fraction wider with each step. You're not in love, not yet, but you're listening to your curiosity, to the possibility of something that asks for nothing except your attention. The rain eases, not completely, but enough for the sounds of the world to return distant tires, a dog barking, the quiet hum of an electric sign. And in this easing, the spell does not break. It deepens. Ahead, you see the corner that leads to your street. Just a few more minutes, just a few more steps. But something in you wishes for more sidewalk, more rain, more time. Not because you're afraid of what's next, but because the present moment is enough dot, and how rare that is. You glance at him again. He looks forward, calm, patient. You wonder who he is when he isn't walking beside you. You wonder what led him to that curb beneath the lamplight. You wonder if he'll remember this the way you already know you will. You reach the corner, and as the light changes and your feet carry you forward, you realize the rain wasn't what changed your night. It was that you stayed long enough to feel it. You never saw him arrive. One moment you were standing alone beneath the lamp, and the next he was there. Like the rain had pulled him into place beside you, quiet as the mist, gentle as breath. Number, rustle of shoes, no clearing of a throat, just presence. As though he had been there all along, waiting for you to notice. You glance at him now, as the two of you walk side by side through the rain-slicked city. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look around nervously the way strangers sometimes do when silence stretches too long. He just walks, steady, easy, as if your pace was his before he even met you. He isn't carrying an umbrella, not even a hood. His dark shirt clings to him, drenched and sculpted against his body. There's something about that, his quiet disregard for the weather, that makes you feel safe, not because he's tough, but because he's calm, unbothered by discomfort, present, even when wet and cold. That presence is magnetic. There's no cologne on him that you can detect. Only the soft scent of rain on skin, maybe laundry soap, maybe something darker like worn leather or the warm, earthy smell of a back seat left in the sun. You try not to notice how close he is, how the space between your hands is barely a breath apart. You try not to wonder what his hand would feel like if it brushed against yours, but the thought is there. Now. And once it arrives, it lingers. Still, he does not touch you. He walks with a kind of respectful restraint, like he's letting the night unfold at your pace. There's no edge of expectation in his body language, no flirtatious glances, just a quiet confidence, like he's content simply walking beside you, the kind of man who isn't chasing anything, the kind who's already arrived. You catch him glancing toward you once, not sharply, not searching, but softly, like checking a flame to see if it still glows. His eyes meet yours for only a second, but in that second, you feel known. Not studied, not desired. Known. It makes you inhale a little slower. The sidewalk curves past the shuttered cafe. The chalkboard menu outside has gone blurry with drizzle, and the metal chairs are tipped forward, collecting water. You pause briefly to read the ghosted words, though you can't make them out. He pauses too. No hurry. You realize you don't know his name. You haven't asked, and he hasn't offered. Somehow that feels right, like the names might tangle things. Like what you're building now, a rhythm, a nearness, a hush is too delicate to label just yet. So you say nothing. And neither does he, but silence is different with him. It isn't empty, it's spacious. The kind of quiet that holds room for wonder. You wonder where he was going before he saw you. If he had plans, or if the night caught him drifting. If he'd had a drink, or if he prefers to stay clear-headed. If he's been here before, walking someone else home in the rain. Or if this is rare for him too, you wonder what he's thinking now. If he's wondering the same about you. Your shoes click softly on the wet pavement, and his make almost no sound at all. You watch the way the rain traces down his hairline, how his jaw tightens just slightly when a gust of wind lifts the cold onto his face. But still he does not complain. He does not shake himself dry or mutter about the weather. He simply lets it be what it is. There's something deeply peaceful in that. Something rare. Most people, especially men you've known, try to shape the moment, fill it, steer it. But this man walks beside you like he trusts the moment more than he trusts his own plans. He's not trying to impress you. And in that absence of trying, he somehow becomes even more real. You pass a quiet bookstore now. The windows glow with soft amber light, a single reading lamp still on inside, even though the place is closed. A cat sleeps on the windowsill, curled like punctuation. At the end of a long sentence, you both slow down to look at it. He smiles. Not at you, but at the cat. A small, almost private smile. And you fall into that smile like a stone dropped in water. There. Single quotes, S warmth there. The kind of warmth that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. The kind that doesn't ask for anything in return. You don't know him, but you trust him. That trust isn't blind or foolish. It's not born of fantasy. It's born of how he's moved so far, gently, deliberately, with care. You realize that you've already made small decisions around him, slowing your pace. matching your breath, allowing your shoulder to stay close instead of pulling away. And those small decisions are stacking now, quietly into something larger. You. Glance up again. Your building is only a block away, but a part of you isn't ready to arrive because something in you knows that this night isn't about arrival. It's about the walk, the mystery, the noticing. It's about how rare it is to feel so human next to someone you've never met. Dot another corner. Another pause beneath a tree heavy with rain. The leaves shimmer above you like slow applause, the wind curling their edges. He speaks for the first time. It's quieter here than I expected. His voice is low, hushed, almost apologetic, like he doesn't want to disturb the moment you've built together. You nod. It's the rain, you say softly. He looks out toward the empty road. Maybe it's you, he replies, and the words land gently, not as a line, not as a game, just as a thought he offered without needing it returned. Feel something in your chest shift. You're still walking, but now your pace slows even more. You're in no rush to get home. You're not afraid. You feel watched, yes, but watched like the way a musician watches the notes they play, not for control, but for reverence. You step over a puddle, and for the first time, he steps slightly ahead to offer his hand. It's a small hand, rough, warm, steady. You place your fingers in it only briefly for balance, but the contact sends a soft hum through your spine, like finding the right key in a song you didn't know you were singing. Then he lets go, just like that. No hesitation, no lingering grasp, no attempt to turn the moment into anything more than what it already was. You feel grateful, not only for his hand, but for his release of it. You're only a few houses away now. The porch light of your building is already visible through the mist, and now the air feels different, not heavier, but deeper. Like both of you know something is ending or beginning, or both. You don't know what will happen next, but you know this. He's not a man who'll push past your hesitation. He's not a man who will try to convert silence into seduction. If you let him in, it will be because you want to, not because he reached first. That in itself is a kind of romance you didn't know your body was waiting for. You breathe, you stop, and the rain, still falling soft and slow, watches you both decide what happens next. You reach the edge of your street, and for a few heartbeats, neither of you speaks. There's a hush that forms here at the threshold of the familiar, where you've walked countless times, keys in hand, mind already curled around blankets and pillows. But tonight feels different. The world behind you is still full of rain, full of quiet echoes, full of the man now standing just beside you with his hands in his pockets and his gaze on the sidewalk. The moment doesn't ask for answers. It only asks for listening. You glance down. Your shoes are wet, so are his. Your skirt is darkened with damp weight, clinging in places you'd normally fix with a tug. But you don't. Your body feels soft by the water, like clay that hasn't set yet. And next to you, he feels steady and moving, but not unreadable. His shoulders inches from yours, close enough to feel the warmth rising from his skin. Close enough that your heart adjusts its rhythm without permission. You realize then you've been walking in sync for several blocks, not deliberately, not even noticeably. But now, as you stand still, you feel the absence of motion, like a melody pausing at the end of a verse. You exhale, not because you need to, but because your body finally remembers it's allowed to. His eyes lift slowly to meet yours, and there's no pressure in them, only awareness. Not a question, not an invitation, just quiet attention. The kind of attention that makes you feel seen but not measured. And maybe that's what's making this moment so tender, that he isn't trying to impress you. He isn't waiting for your next move to decide his own. He's just here in the rain with you entirely. You turn your face upward, letting the water fall directly on your skin. It's cooler now. The kind of chill that settles just beneath your clothes and begins to whisper about warmth. You wrap your arms around yourself, not tightly, just lightly, like you're acknowledging the vulnerability without resisting it. I don't usually do this. You say, your voice is quiet, half swallowed by the wind. You're not sure what. You mean by this? Walking with a stranger? Letting him linger at your doorstep? Or simply allowing your evening to change shape without explanation? He doesn't ask you to clarify. He nods once, his mouth relaxed, eyes soft. Me neither. That feels like truth, not a line. Not a mirror to make you feel comfortable. Just something gently shared. You look toward your building. The lights in the stairwell are glowing dimly, flickering slightly through the frosted windows. The door is just across the street, maybe 20 steps from where you stand. Your keys are in your coat pocket. You could walk there now, wave goodnight, step into your hallway, and let the night dissolve into memory. You could. And maybe you should, but you don't. Not yet. Instead, you start walking again, slowly, quietly. He matches your pace without asking, without comment, as if your feet know what they're doing before you do. This time, your arms brush barely. Just fabric against fabric, but you feel it. The sensation lingers, warm and feather-light, long after the touch fades. Like a thought you forgot you were thinking. You reach your door, you stop, and again. He stops with you, just behind your shoulder now. You turn slightly, enough to face him, enough to let your eyes meet in the halo of the porch light. You expect him to speak, but he doesn't. Instead, he waits. That silence again. Not empty, alive. You reach into your pocket and hold your keys in your palm. Their metal weight grounds you, reminds you that you are here, that this is your home, that you're safe. And the man beside you has given you no reason to feel otherwise. You glance down at your hand, then back at his face. He notices. He takes one half step back, not out of rejection, but out of respect. Like he's reminding you that you have space, that he won't fill it unless you invite him in, and somehow that makes you want to. Your fingers close gently around the keys. You want to come in? You ask, almost surprised to hear yourself say it aloud. His expression doesn't change much. Just a slight softening at the corners of his mouth. Not triumph, not excitement, just a deeper calm. A knowing, I'd like that, he says. You turn, open the door, and step inside. The building breathes around you, a quiet hallway, still air, faint scent of stone and old rain caught in corners. You hear the door click behind him as he follows, careful. Unrushed. No one speaks as you climb the stairs. Each step feels measured, like an agreement being built one floor at a time. You're not sure if this will lead to love, to memory, or simply to sleep beside someone who won't ask too much. But you know this, you've never brought someone home like this before, not just a stranger, a presence. You pause at your apartment door. He stands behind you again, not pressing close, just waiting. You glance back once, and in his face, you find nothing but quiet acceptance. No urgency, no need. You unlock the door, push it open. And without looking over your shoulder, you say simply, "Come in." The words are not loud. They don't need to be. He follows you into the room. You don't turn on the main light. Only a lamp near the window. The golden glow spills softly across your furniture, touching everything with warmth. Your living room feels smaller now, not crowded, just full. Full of the rain still tapping on your windows. Full of your breath and his. Full of the soft gravity that has pulled the two of you here. You step out of your shoes, Dot. He does the same, quietly placing them by the door. You don't ask him to sit, and he doesn't ask what happens next. He simply stands in your space the same way he stood beside you on the street, with presence, with stillness, with care. You offer him a towel, and he takes it gently, brushing the rain from his arms, his face, the back of his neck. Then he looks at you again, not with hunger, not with question, but with a kind of attentiveness that feels more like reverence than romance, Dot. And for the first time since you met him, you realize your heart is not unsure anymore, Dot. It's curious. It's awake. It's soft. You walk toward him, not quickly, not boldly, just willingly, Dot. And when you stop in front of him, you see it in his eyes, the same softness, the same willingness. This is not about forever. It might not even be about tomorrow, but it is about now, Dot, and now is sacred enough, Dot. The door closes behind him with a gentle click. Not loud, not final, just the quiet folding of one world into another. You hear the faint sound of dripping fabric, the hush of his breath as he adjusts to your space, and the subtle shift of wood beneath his feet. You don't speak, and neither does he. Not because there's nothing to say, but because silence feels like the more honest language right now. In silence, there's no need to explain what has already begun to take root. Your living room is modest, softly lit. A candle flickers on the shelf above the books you've read half of. A folded blanket waits on the edge of the couch, unused since last weekend. There's a cup from earlier still on the table, half full with herbal tea gone cold. These small traces of your life don't embarrass you. Somehow you want him to see them, not to impress him, but to be witnessed exactly as you are, without preparation. That kind of comfort is rare. You gesture to the couch, and he nods but doesn't immediately sit. Instead, he takes a slow look around the room, not intrusively, but with that same presence he brought into the rain. He notices things without claiming them. His eyes rest on the candle, then on the plant leaning toward the window, then on you. But when they land on you, they don't linger too long. He looks at you like someone might study a poem they don't fully understand yet and don't need to, still damp from the walk. You excuse yourself and step into the bathroom, pulling your towel from the rack and patting down your arms, your face, the strands of hair that cling to your temples. You catch your reflection in the mirror and see something different, not just the water drops, not just the smudge of eyeliner, but softness. You look like someone who has let go of her plans just for tonight, and that feels good. You never realized how heavy certainty had become until you set it down. When you return, he's standing by the bookshelf, running his fingers lightly, not touching, just hovering over the spines. He doesn't ask you about your books. He doesn't comment. He simply lets the titles speak for themselves. That too feels like respect. Like he understands you are not a question waiting to be solved, but a quiet presence to be met in layers. You move past him and into the small kitchen nook. The cupboards open with a soft creak as you reach for a second mug. You don't ask if he wants tea. You don't need to. The kettle hums to life on the stove as he quietly joins you, leaning lightly against the wall near the window. Rain still paints the outside world in slow, streaked motion. The city out there is someone else's concern now. There's something soothing about the way he leans, hands loose in his pockets, gaze calm but not fixed. He doesn't fill the silence with nervous chatter. He doesn't ask personal questions. And yet the space between you feels rich with understanding. Not everything that matters is said aloud. You pour the tea and place one cup near him. He nods and thanks, lifting it carefully, warming his palms around it. For a while, that's all there is, the soft steam curling into the air, the candlelight flickering, and the warm, subtle rhythm of your breaths aligning once more. You sit across from him now, legs curled beneath you, your body wrapped in a throw you hadn't realized you'd grabbed. He mirrors your stillness in his own way, less curled, more grounded. You study him openly for the first time. His face is quiet. Not the quiet of vacancy, but of depth. The kind of quiet that comes from having seen things and chosen not to speak of them unless asked. His brow carries no tension. His mouth unguarded. His jawline is rough with the softness of someone who didn't shave because he didn't expect to be close to anyone today. You wonder if he sees you the same way, unplanned, unpolished. And still enough. He sets the tea down slowly, then leans back slightly, eyes following the slow movement of your fingers as they trace the rim of your own cup. You don't realize you're doing it until he glances at your hand and you let your fingers fall still, but he says nothing. He doesn't laugh or tease. He simply returns his eyes to yours, and for the briefest moment, everything feels bare and beautiful. I almost didn't go out tonight. You say, your voice a little quieter than you intended. He tilts his head, not pushing you to explain, only encouraging you with his stillness. I was going to stay in. The bar wasn't the plan. I just needed air. He nods again, slowly. Me too, that's all. But it's enough. More than enough. What he doesn't say is everything you feel in the space between his words. He doesn't tell you what drove him to the street lamp. He doesn't tell you where he was going or who he might have been before this moment. But in the quiet, you feel it, all the weight of his own distractions, the need for stillness, the rare delight of being seen without context. His eyes never drift to your legs, your lips, your curves. He doesn't stare, he regards, and that changes everything. You feel beautiful, not because he looks at you with desire, but because he looks at you with patience. In a world of swipes and quick glances, of messages that come loaded with suggestion. It feels almost surreal to be near someone who makes no demands. You find yourself wanting to move closer, not because you've been invited, but because you haven't been asked to. That kind of restraint creates a different kind of magnetism. There's a pause. Not an awkward one, an anticipatory one. You shift slightly, your knees brushing the throw rug. The candle wavers. He breathes in through his nose, slow, steady, and then still without touching, he speaks. Is this okay? The question is soft. It lands gently, like a coat being laid over your shoulders. He isn't asking if he can stay or move or take anything. He's asking about the moment itself. The now, the presence. You nod. It is, you whisper. It is, and that's the moment everything begins to change, not with movement, but with mutual knowing. He leans forward, not to cross into your space, but to place his mug on the table beside yours. Then he sits back, arms loose across his knees. You reach up and tuck a damp strand of hair behind your ear, not out of nervousness, but to feel the coolness of your own skin. You're aware now of your body, not in the self-conscious way, but in the alive way, aware of where his eyes rest, aware of where his voice lingers in the room. You want to speak again, but nothing comes, and that's okay. Words are no longer the primary medium here. What matters is unspoken. It's in the glances that soften, the postures that shift, the way your shoulder relaxes as the evening stretches open like slow silk around you both. Outside, the rain has thinned to mist. The windows are blushed with condensation, blurring the world. You don't want to return to that world just yet. You want to stay here in this cocoon, in this moment where nothing is required but presence. You move first, only slightly. Just your knee, unfolding from beneath you, resting near the edge of the couch cushion where he now sits. He watches the movement, not with expectation, but with quiet reception. His hand is resting, palm up, near the edge of the cushion. You don't touch it, but your body angles closer and something soft hums beneath your skin. He breathes again. So, do you dot what neither of you says is more important than anything you could speak? There is no need to ask, what are we doing? Because it is already clear. You are allowing. You are listening to the moment unfold. You are not naming the feeling because naming might pin it down. And tonight isn't meant to be pinned. His head tilts slightly, his mouth parted, not from surprise, but from presence. You see the rise of his chest, the slow rhythm of breath, and you match it. That is the beginning, and still he does not reach for you. Still he does not lead. And somehow, that's how you know you're free to choose. You let yourself lean forward now, just a breath, just enough that your presence invites his. And when your eyes close, not in surrender, but in trust, you feel the warmth of his nearness. Still no hands. Still no words, only breath, only stillness. Only the understanding of everything neither of you has said. And that understanding is enough that you sit with him in the hush between moments, wrapped in the slow quiet that has followed you from the rain. Outside, the mist gathers along the window like breath on glass, and the glow from a distant street lamp filters through the condensation in golden haze. It spills gently into the room, laying itself across the floor, the table, the stretch of your legs, and the curve of his shoulders. That light makes everything appear softer skin, furniture, thoughts. As if the world itself has exhaled, he sits still, his hands resting quietly on his knees, fingers slightly curled, relaxed. There's no performance in his posture, no exaggerated effort to appear open or appealing. He is simply present. And presence, as you are discovering, is the most alluring thing of all. Your fingers twitch just slightly. You aren't even sure you moved them, but you feel it. So does he. You lift your head again, and this time, you don't speak. You don't have to. He reads the answer in your eyes before it forms on your lips, and slowly, finally, he moves his hand closer. His fingers brush against yours, not firmly, not fully. Just a breath of contact. But the electricity of that graze is more than enough. It ripples through your chest like wind through tall grass, bending your thoughts gently in his direction. Your fingers remain beside his, motionless at first. And then slowly, deliberately, you let them slip between his, one by one. A quiet knot, a small trust. His hand closes around yours, not tightly, not possessively like a hand closing around water, just enough to hold, never enough to trap Dot, and now there is warmth. Not just in your hands, but in your throat, in your knees, in the hollow of your back. The kind of warmth that comes not from touch alone, but from the decision to allow it. You sit like this for a while, Dot, no words. No kisses, just the quiet entanglement of fingers, the hush of candlelight, the soft scrape of wind beyond the windows. It is intimacy in its purest form, attention without assumption. You lean gently toward him, your shoulders aligning again, your cheek near his temple now. Your foreheads don't touch, but they hover in proximity, as if your thoughts are holding hands. 2. You feel the slight motion of his thumb against your skin, a slow stroke along the side of your hand, not repetitive, not suggestive, just aware. Dot. The silence deepens. Dot. And then, as if pulled by something older than your breath, you whisper without thinking, "This feels like something I forgot I needed." You're not sure where the words came from, but they feel true. He turns his head slightly, not enough to meet your eyes, just enough to acknowledge your voice with a faint nod. "Me too," he says softly. Dot, and in those 2 words, you feel his own forgetting, his own remembering, his own quiet gratitude. He shifts now, not to pull you closer, but to bring his other hand up, gently resting it over the backs of your fingers, cradling them like something precious. You feel held, not in the grand cinematic way, in the simple human way, in the way that reminds you what safety feels like when it's earned. You let your eyes close, your breathing deepen, not towards sleep, not yet, but toward surrender. He adjusts his posture just slightly, his shoulder brushing your collarbone, his temple grazing yours. Dot, and in that small contact, everything stills. You are no longer 2 separate people sharing a room. You are a moment made of 2 pulses, 2 breaths, 2 silences interwoven. You feel it now, not the future, not the past. Just this, a hand in yours, a breath beside your own, and the miracle of almost touch finally answered. Dot. No urgency. Dot. No destination. Dot. Just the fullness of being near and being met. Dot. And in that fullness, you discover that intimacy isn't always about what happens next. Dot. Sometimes it is the courage to stay in what is already happening and let it unfold, finger by finger. You sit in the soft hush that lingers after hands have found each other. It's a quiet so full it pulses. You can hear the tiny sounds of life now that you've both gone still, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the gentle tick of the candle as it flickers on the table, the sound of wind curling along the window panes. And beneath it all, the most tender rhythm of all, breath, yours and his. 2 tides slowly rising, slowly falling. There is something sacred in this moment, this closeness without urgency. Your hand is still in his. The connection is light but anchored. His fingers rest in the delicate spaces between yours, his thumb tracing barely there circles against your skin. He's not searching. He's not trying to move forward. He's simply present, holding the moment the way one might hold a smooth stone or a flame, gently, reverently, without forcing shape or speed. You're aware of your body now, not as something to be shown, but as something to be felt. The skin along your arms still hums from the contact of his earlier touch. The fabric of your clothes rests a little differently now, more noticeable against your back, your legs, your chest. You breathe slowly, fully, letting your lungs expand. In a rhythm that matches his, it happens without trying. Two bodies finding resonance. He turns slightly, not toward you, but into the shared space between you. His shoulder shifts and the warmth of it presses against yours. There's no hesitation in the contact. It's gentle, it's steady, the kind of touch that doesn't ask a question but offers a presence. You feel it move through you, not as desire but as welcome. Your body responds with ease, not tension. There is no decision being made, only experience unfolding. The distance between your faces lessens now, not by design, but by gravity. The closeness grows naturally, as if the space between you is its own living thing, contracting with breath. And quiet invitation. You tilt your head slightly, and your forehead finds his not with pressure, but with permission. The skin there is warm. You feel the faintest pulse. And then everything else fades out here in this small point of contact. A stillness deepens. You are not thinking about what comes next. You are not wondering what he wants. You are not measuring time. You are simply here, breathing with someone who sees you not as a shape, not as a prize, but as a presence. Your lips part slightly, not for words, but for air. The breath that passes between you is not fast. It is slow, calm, full of understanding. You hear his exhale before you feel it, a soft sound that brushes your cheek like a breeze, quiet and warm. You mirror it, and in that breath, something inside you loosens, a thought lets go. A wall you didn't know was there dissolves like. Mist at his hand moves not far, not urgently. Just from your fingers to your wrist, then up the slope of your forearm. He is not mapping your body. He is listening to it. And your body listens back. The skin beneath his palm warms, then cools slightly as he lifts it again. His touch is not constant. It comes in waves, like breath, like trust. You lift your hand now, slowly, and place it over his chest. Through the fabric of his shirt, you feel his heartbeat, not loud, not fast. Just steady, just real. Your fingers spread slightly, adjusting to the curve of him. His breath catches for half a second, not from surprise, but from attention. Your touch has reached him. And you feel that reach in your own body too. He shifts. His head just slightly, and now his cheek brushes yours. Not deliberately, just the natural slide of skin seeking skin. You stay still, letting him linger there. The stubble on his jaw is soft with moisture, his skin cool in some places, warm in others. You feel the contrast, and somehow it makes the moment more human. You close your eyes, and now you can hear it, the sound of breath between two bodies. It's not loud. It's not even rhythmic, but it's there, a shared whisper, a soft agreement, an ancient melody made without instruments. You breathe in, and he breathes out. He breathes in, and you exhale. A loop, a pulse, a promise with no words. You let your other hand rise, fingers brushing lightly against the back of his neck. The skin there is smooth, the muscles beneath it alert but unguarded. He leans into the touch, just slightly. That's all the answer you need. You run your thumb along the ridge where his hair begins, and his breath deepens. Not a moan, not a gasp. Just a fuller inhale, like he's letting something go. You stay like this. No kissing yet, no movement downward, no breaking of the stillness. Just the presence, just the quiet, just the sound of your bodies remembering how to be near without rush or tension. It occurs to you how rare this is, to be so close to someone and not be pushed toward urgency, to be allowed to stay in the moment of almost, to savor it. To live inside the slow opening of intimacy, you feel your own chest rise again, your breath expanding beneath his hand now. You didn't even notice he'd placed it there, but it rests lightly above your heart, not pressing, just listening. You feel his fingers adjust, not for control, but for connection. His thumb moves slightly, tracing the curve beneath your collarbone. Your skin responds, not with heat, but with openness. You lean into his body now, not collapsing, but aligning. His arm slips gently around your back, and your bodies curve into each other like halves of the same breath, and still no words. You shift your weight until you're cradled into his side, your head resting softly near the hollow of his neck. His scent is different here, richer, deeper, something like rain mixed with skin, and something you can't name. You breathe him in, slowly. Fully dot his hand finds the small of your back. You feel it there, not moving, not exploring, just steady. A point of warmth, a presence. His fingers stay still, but you can feel the awareness in them, as if they're listening through your spine dot, and now your legs stretch out beside his. Your feet graze his ankle. You let them stay there, skin to skin, beneath the soft fabric of your clothes. Two edges finding alignment. The candle flickers again. The wind hums against the window, and your bodies, breathing, hold the rest. You don't need to be undressed to be naked. Not in this moment, not in this quiet. You are bare already in your breath, in your touch, in the space where two rhythms have become one. There is no need to name this. There is no need to define it. You are not lovers. You are not strangers. You are something in between a moment, held open by attention, not expectation dot, and so you stay there, dot listening, dot breathing, dotting your heart speak in the oldest language of all. Closeness without pressure, breath without possession, touch without taking, the sound of breath between. Two bodies, that's all. That's all, and somehow it's everything. You are lying now, not fully reclined, not asleep, but somewhere in that tender space between upright and surrendered. Your body fits softly into the curve of his side, your arm draped gently over his chest, your head resting just beneath his chin. The light in the room has dimmed even more, the candle now low, barely flickering, casting only the faintest golden shadows along the curve of your cheek and the slope of his collarbone. There's a deep quiet between you, but it doesn't feel like absence. It feels like a presence so complete that words would only fracture it. His chest rises and falls in an even rhythm. Yours adjusts to match. Every few breaths, your heart taps gently against his side, and you wonder if he feels it. You think he must dot his hand still rests on the small of your back, not pressing, not pulling, just there. It reminds you of roots, steady and grounding. You shift slightly, letting your weight settle more fully into him, and his arm moves with you, responding, curving just a little tighter, his palm spreading across the base of your spine. It's the smallest adjustment, but you feel its meaning. I feel you. I'm with you. I'm staying. The stillness hasn't broken. It's only changing shape. Your other hand rests near his ribs, your fingertips brushing lightly against the hem of his shirt. You become aware, again, of how much you can. Feel through so little. Fabric and skin separated by breath, by trust. You trace one small circle there, and he exhales slowly, deeply. Not surprised, not startled. Just present that his hand moves upward now, gently, without momentum. It slides along your back, fingers grazing your shoulder blade, then higher until His palm rests just beneath your hair. His touch is soft, but it holds something strong beneath it, something you recognize as care, not claim. His fingers curl lightly, his thumb brushing a slow, rhythmic line at the nape of your neck. You let your head shift, cheek brushing his collarbone, your nose tucked closer to his skin. The scent of him, still rain damp and warm, feels softer. Now more familiar. You inhale, not because you need to, but because it feels like returning home. It is then that your lips, without planning, find the place where his pulse lives. You kiss him there lightly, barely a press of skin on skin. A whisper of closeness, you feel his breath catch, not in shock. And knowing, the stillness has turned, but it hasn't rushed. He tilts his head just slightly, resting his cheek against your hair, and in that tiny movement you sense the shift more. Clearly now presence blooming into motion. Not because it must, not because desire demands it, but because the moment invites it. His fingers move again, sliding down the curve of your neck, then to your jaw, where they pause. He doesn't turn your face. He waits for you to move. And so you do. Slowly. You lift your chin, and your eyes meet. In that gaze, everything is clear still, no rush, no expectation, no destination. Just a readiness to follow wherever this tenderness leads. You kiss again. This time your lips linger. The contact is soft, open. His hand cradles your cheek now, not guiding, just holding. You move together like leaves turning in the same wind, slow, natural, effortless. There is no hunger in it. No urgency, but there is depth. Your bodies begin to adjust to each other. A knee sliding between his, a shoulder turning inward, the soft weight of your hand pressing gently against his chest, where the rhythm of his heart has become steady and familiar. You feel his other hand move now down your back, curving along your side. Still slow, still reverent. He touches you not like someone reaching for something, but like someone answering something that's already here, already understood. And as your kiss deepens, you feel it, the moment changing once more. Stillness has become motion, and motion is becoming more. Your lips part, just enough to breathe. Your forehead touches his again, and you stay like that, eyes closed, breath shared, bodies resting against each other in perfect, weightless accord. He slides his hand beneath your shirt now, fingers brushing your back, not with heat, but with reverence. Your skin tingles, not with shock, but with welcome. You don't flinch, you don't tense. You feel met, fully, softly. You whisper his name, almost as a breath, and he says yours in return. Names in the dark, not labels. Just presence. You shift your weight, pressing your chest against his, and his breath deepens again. The warmth of him is everywhere now, under your hands, under your skin. You can feel the steadiness of him, the stillness that lives even in motion. He rolls gently, guiding you beneath him, but he does not hover, does not press down. He supports. His weight with care, braced on one arm, his other hand at your waist, resting, waiting. His body curves over yours like a shelter, not a claim. You look up at him. In his eyes, there is no demand. No need. Just a question, and in your own gaze. There is no fear. Just yes. Your hands explore now, slowly. The fabric of his shirt, the line of his arm, the warmth along his ribs. You feel muscle beneath your fingers, yes, but more than that, you feel attention. His body responds not to your shape, but to your being. And now the stillness has fully turned. There is motion, breath syncing with breath, skin greeting skin. Your bodies adjust, respond, realign. There are no sudden moves, no gasps, no whispers that break the moment. Everything is quiet. Everything is slow. He leans down and kisses your shoulder, the bare edge where your shirt has slipped aside. His lips linger there, and you feel your spine arch ever so slightly, not from reaction, but from invitation. Your fingers curl into his shirt, and finally, together, you begin to move not toward anything, but into something, into presence, into warmth, into the slow unfolding of two bodies learning each other not through want, but through welcome. This is not passion as the world often names it. It is something gentler, truer. This is the body, his prayer. This is touch as listening. This is stillness becoming rhythm, rhythm becoming breath, breath becoming closeness beyond shape. You're held, you're whole. And in this slow, sacred motion, you are home. The room is quiet again, but it is not the same quiet. It has deepened, thickened, like a still lake after rain. The candle has burned low, its light a soft pulse now, barely enough to cast shadows on the wall. But you do not need light to see. You feel everything in the space around you, in the breath you just shared, in the pulse that still hums quietly beneath your ribs, in the warmth that lingers on your skin even as the air cools. You lie beside him, wrapped in a slow, holy stillness. His hand rests gently at your waist, not holding, just staying. Your legs are tangled. Your hair is a little damp again, not from rain this time, but from the heat between you that has only now begun to settle. The hush is not silence, it is full. Every corner of the room feels like it remembers something now. You breathe in, slowly, and it all returns. Not just the feeling of him, the texture of his skin, the shape of his lips, the way his body curved so carefully around yours. No, what floods you now is subtler, softer. The places he touched without using his hands at all. The moment before his kiss, when his eyes searched yours not with hunger, but with care. The way his silence wrapped around your own like two leaves caught in the same stream. How he waited not for permission, but for alignment. For the moment when you were no longer separate people, but shared breath. You feel your chest swell again, not with arousal now, but with gratitude. It's strange how much someone can touch without touching. How his patience pressed into you more deeply than any hurried gesture. How his listening, his stillness, his steady breath did more to open you than words ever could. You think about how his hand, resting quietly against your back, had steadied you. Not because it was firm, but because it never wandered. It stayed where you needed it to stay. Like it knew that presence, not pressure, was the most intimate thing of all. You shift slightly, the blanket rustling beneath your thigh. He stirs, too, but doesn't speak. His arm curves more securely around your waist, as if to say, I'm still here, not as a promise, just as truth. And still, you are thinking of the places he touched without hands, the way he looked at your books like they mattered, the way he watched the tea steam rise before speaking, how he didn't ask about your past, but left room for it, unspoken, welcome. How he never once tried to impress you, but instead tried to meet you, right where you were. You remember the quiet between your kiss and your closeness, the way your heads leaned together, the way you listened for each other's breath like it was the first song you'd ever heard. And now, lying here, warm and open and no longer needing anything more, you begin to understand something you hadn't before. The deepest touch is not felt on the skin. It is felt in the pause before the skin is touched, in the respect that lives in the hesitation, in the care that waits until your breath invites it closer. He touched you in that place where memory lives before. Experience becomes story before closeness becomes meaning. Dot your fingertips, trace his chest now, idly. Not out of want, not even out of affection, out of thought, out of awareness, out of the simple, slow joy of letting your hands move in silence while your heart thinks quietly to itself. He sighs once, not heavy, not tired. Just content. He shifts slightly, his hand brushing the curve of your shoulder, then resting again. And still, there's no need for talk. Words now would only shrink what has become so wide. Your mind drifts not in the distracted way, but in the expansive way. It revisits small moments, the way his brow furrowed when he first looked at your books, the shape his smile took when you handed him tea, the breath he didn't know he took when you finally kissed him, the way his chest paused before relaxing against yours. You wonder if he is doing the same, drifting, remembering, reliving in soft detail. You do not need to ask. The quiet between you has become a shared language, a gentle, unspoken agreement that what was built between you wasn't momentary, it was meaningful. Even if it only lives for tonight, you close your eyes. Again, and now, more than anything, you feel calm, not full, not empty, just balanced, aligned. As if something had been slightly off kilter in your life, something small, unnameable, and this one night shifted it back into place. Not with thunder, not with fire, with stillness, with touchless care, with the feeling of being witnessed without being explained. His fingers move now, not far, not with intent, just enough to remind you he's still awake too. And you smile. You're not in love, you're not in fantasy. You're in this strange, beautiful, undesigned connection. This human moment where two lives touched, not only skin to skin, but soul to soul, where he reached you in places no hand could reach, and glances and pauses. In the way he waited for your body to invite his, you shift to face him now, and he turns to meet you. Your noses almost touch, your eyes hold steady, and even in this closeness, there's no pressure, just peace. You let your hand rest on his chest again, where the rhythm of him lives. And in your mind, you whisper a thank you, not for what happened, but for how it happened. He touched you in the quiet. He touched you with presence. He touched you in the places no map can find, and those touches will stay, not as longing, but as light. The morning arrives gently, not with noise, not with light bursting through the windows, but with a slow kind of gold that seeps in around the edges of the curtain, warm and still. You stir before you open your eyes, your body already sensing the shift. The air has changed. The quiet isn't night silent anymore. It holds the distant murmur of a world waking up, birds stretching their songs, cars turning over in distant driveways, the soft sigh of a city that never really sleeps. Beside you, his breath moves softly, slower now, more relaxed. You haven't moved, not really, but he feels the change. You can sense it in the way his fingers twitch gently near your side, as if confirming you're still there. You're a dot for now. You blink, and the room brightens slowly around you. The candle is long extinguished, its melted wax pooled in a quiet circle on the table. Your clothes still hang neatly where you left them, damp from the evening rain, but no longer cold. And your body, your warm, trusted body, feels heavy with rest, light with peace. He shifts now, turning slightly, and you feel the whisper of the sheet move between you. You roll to face him, gently, slowly, without ceremony. His eyes open almost at the same moment, as if something between you both had agreed upon it. There's no need to speak just yet. Instead, you study the softness of his expression, the way his features relax in morning light. He looks different now, less mysterious, more familiar. Not because you know everything about him, but because something about this shared silence, this held night, has built a bridge that doesn't require facts to feel real. He reaches for your hand, and you give it. Not as ritual, not as parting. Just because it feels natural. You watch each other for a while, and in that watching, you understand something. This is the end of the night. But it isn't the end of what mattered. You begin to speak, softly only. A few words, only the kinds of thoughts that rise without effort. He answers in the same tone, gentle, unrushed, never trying to define or relabel what was shared. There are no questions about what this means. No attempts to extend the moment into something it's not. Instead, you both hold the shape of the night like a quiet object between you, admired, not gripped. You begin to move through the slow rituals of parting. He offers you tea, you accept. You rise from the bed in your own time, stretch your arms overhead. The blanket falls from your shoulders, and the room lets you return to yourself. The feeling isn't sharp, it isn't sudden. It's just ... soft ... You step into your clothes, still warm from your body. He doesn't turn away, and you don't need him to. There's nothing hidden here, no shame. Just the final steps of an experience honored from beginning to end. In the kitchen, mugs clink. Steam rises. You sit on a small couch again, where it all began in sip and companionable quiet. Outside, the rain has stopped. The streets glisten and the trees look freshly painted. Everything feels a little new, a little clearer, as if the night rinsed something clean. When he speaks again. That's not to ask for more. It's to say thank you, and you feel it. Not the kind of thank you that means conquest. Not the kind that masks confusion or longing. The kind that says, I see what we made and I'm grateful. You nod. You offer your own thank you in return, and it lands between you like a flower placed on a windowsill. It doesn't need tending. It just needs to be. The goodbye isn't dramatic. You gather your things. He walks you to the door. His hand grazes your back once more, not possessive, just steady. You both pause before the threshold, not because you don't want to leave, but because part of you knows that even when you do, something will stay. He kisses your forehead, not your lips, and somehow that means more. You step into the morning light. It's soft on your skin, like the memory of his breath. You walk without looking back, not because you're trying to forget, but because the night is now part of you, tucked into your chest like a gentle ember. No longer burning, just warm. And that's the thing you didn't know you needed. A goodbye that doesn't ache. A parting that doesn't erase, because some people don't stay forever, but they don't vanish either. They live in a way you now recognize the quiet between breaths, and how you pause before touching someone new, and the knowledge that care can be offered without demand. That intimacy can bloom, even for a moment, without turning into possession or confusion or need. You carry him not as a fantasy, not as a regret. As a reminder that one night can be complete. That presence, when fully given, doesn't need to last forever to mean something. That goodbyes, when done gently, leave no damage, only light. The world doesn't look different, not in the way you might expect. The streets are still there, paved and cracked in places. The trees still sway with the morning breeze. Cars hum past. Strangers walk with their heads down, eyes on their phones, shoulders tucked beneath the armor of another weekday. But you are different, not visibly, not obviously, but inside something has shifted. As if someone had taken the furniture of your heart and rearranged it ever so slightly. There's more space now, more light in the corners. You walk slower than usual, not out of hesitation, but because everything feels more noticeable. The weight of your feet on the ground, the sound of your breath moving in and out, the shape of your own presence in the space around you, and somewhere beneath it all is the echo of the night before, not a memory in the sharp sense, not a reel of images you keep replaying. It's softer than that, quieter, a feeling carried beneath your skin. A warmth that returns each time you inhale and think of how it felt to be held without expectation, touched without being taken, seen without being asked to explain. That night didn't change your life, it changed how you feel inside it. There's a new kind of calm in you now, not because someone gave it to you, but because you gave yourself permission to rest, to be met, to unfold slowly and be received fully. Even if only for one night, the world has always been fast, distracted, hungry, but now you know that within it, there can be islands of stillness, moments where two people slow down long enough to breathe. The same breath, to notice the weight of each other's presence. To say yes, not to a future, but to a moment fully lived. You carry that yes with you now, in the curve of your spine, in the way your fingers relax in your lap, in the gentler thoughts that come when you remember your own body, not as a thing to be judged or desired, but as a place where someone once rested their hand, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You smile now, not broadly, not for anyone else to see, but inwardly, because that kind of being seen, it doesn't vanish when the moment ends, it lingers, in the way your heart now recognizes what it needs, and how your breath settles more easily, in the trust you now feel, not in others necessarily, but in your own ability to know when you're safe, when you're heard, when you are allowed to exist fully in your softness, without defense. You think of him, not longingly, not as someone you need to chase or hold on to, but as someone who met you in the middle of a life that's often too rushed to pause, someone who sat still with you, someone who let your breath lead the way, someone who asked nothing of you but your truth. He lives in you now, not as a character, but as a moment, a lesson, a light, and because of that, the world is not the same. You walk past people on the sidewalk and see them differently, now not as obstacles or background noise, but as possible carriers of presence, possible witnesses to someone else's unfolding. You wonder how many of them have been touched without hands. How many carry someone inside them, not a lover, not a memory, but a night that made them gentler. You hold the doorknob to your apartment and pause before turning it. You are returning to the life you left only hours ago, but you're not returning as the same version of yourself. You've softened, not in the fragile way, in the open way. You've learned that you don't have to brace against the world, that there are places, even small ones, even temporary ones, where gentleness is possible, where breath can be enough, where presence is the deepest kind of intimacy, And you step inside your space with that lesson wrapped around you like a quiet shawl. The books are still on your shelves. The mug is still on the counter. The clothes you forgot to fold are still in the basket, but you see them all differently now because you are someone who has been met fully, gently with care. And now you're someone who can offer that same care to yourself. You walk to the window. The sky is open. The clouds are loose. The breeze moves freely through the branches of a tree that has seen countless mornings, countless partings, countless moments of quiet transformation. You press your palm to the glass and you whisper, not out loud, but inside. I am here. I am changed. I am still whole. The night is over, but it didn't leave. It lives now in the way. Your breath moves. In the way your heart listens. In the way the world feels when someone has truly seen you, and more importantly, in the way you now see yourself. You don't speak. There are no more questions, no more sentences with uncertain endings. Just the ceiling above you, pale and half lit by the outside world, casting long, drowsy shadows like drifting constellations across the room. It doesn't glow, it doesn't move, but something about it feels wide, endless, like sky. Like the inside of a breath held too long, then finally released. You lie there, your head against his chest, your hand resting gently where his ribs rise and fall. His breath has found your rhythm, or maybe yours found his. Either way, the air between your bodies moves with the same pulse now. There's a warmth that lingers along your skin, but it isn't heat anymore. It's comfort, it's something quieter. The kind of warmth that doesn't demand attention. It simply stays. You keep your eyes on the ceiling, tracing the uneven patterns the light creates across it. There's a faint flicker as a car passes outside, its headlights briefly sweeping the walls, then vanishing again. The room feels suspended in time, neither night nor morning, neither inside nor out, just here, just now. Just this. You wonder what he's thinking. But you don't ask. You don't need to. His hand is still moving slowly through your hair, fingers, soft and occasional, more like breath and motion. There's no urgency in him, no restlessness, just presence. You feel the steady weight of his arm wrapped around you, the curve of his body holding yours with the ease of something found rather than forced. It could be midnight. It could be dawn. You don't check. The time doesn't matter. What matters is this moment where everything is still, where the night no longer needs to speak for itself, where the meaning, whatever it was, has already passed through you both, like wind through trees, like light through curtains. You've moved through it, or it through you. And now there's only the ceiling, a pale field above you, empty and somehow full. You let your fingers drift, tracing the line of his chest, the center of his collarbone. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't guide you. He just breathes. And the simplicity of that, the quiet trust in it, makes something inside you exhale. This is not the beginning of something. And you both know it, but it isn't the end either. It's the part no one writes about. The part that lingers after. Closeness, after sharing, after skin. The part where two people simply lie still, side by side, not trying to define what just happened, not rushing to put it into boxes, not wondering what will come next, just breathing. Just being. You glance up at the ceiling again, and this time you see it not as ceiling, but as sky. Not literal sky, but a kind of inner sky, a canvas where your thoughts flicker and fade, where the night you just shared leaves soft echoes, like stars that blink in and out, too far away to name, but real just the same. You wonder how many people have lain like this quiet full, unsure of what to say because everything has already been said through motion and stillness and the meeting of breath. You wonder if he's watching the ceiling too. You don't ask, but after a moment, his voice, low, tired, warm, says, "That ceiling looks like something else now." And you smile because he sees it too. You nod against his chest, like stars. "Like something we're not supposed to reach," he replies. "But maybe." "Understand." You fall quiet again. But now the silence is different. Not passive, not waiting. It holds your thoughts like water holds a reflection, gentle, distorted, real in its own shimmering way. Your mind drifts, not far dot, just into the small memories of the night. The touch that began with fingertips and became breath. The way his eyes didn't press you for answers, only offered space. The way your body let go, not because it was asked, but because it was allowed, dot, and now here you are. Not lovers with a future, dot, not strangers. Either, dot, just two people who shared something true. Even if it can't be measured. Even if it lives only in this ceiling, this breath, this final chapter of stillness. You shift slightly, enough to move your arm across his middle, to fit more fully into the hollow of his side. He doesn't speak. He just pulls you closer. Not tightly, not possessively. Just enough to say, "I feel it too." You both watch the ceiling in silence, and you let it hold all the unsaid things, because what is there to say? What could words possibly add? There are no promises being made, no plans, no confessions, just presence. Just gratitude. And strangely, that feels like more than enough. You realize, as you blink slowly, that the stars on the ceiling are not real. They're tricks of shadow and tiredness. But they still feel like stars to you, because something in you has changed. The way you see things, the way you hold things, the way you let yourself rest in the arms of someone who asked nothing of you but your truth. You think back to when you first stepped into this room, how small you felt, how careful, how unsure. And now look at you, breathing freely, resting fully, not rushing toward meaning. Just letting the meaning live where it landed, dot, in the way your head rests on his chest, dot, in the way the ceiling became sky, dot, in the way goodbye doesn't need to be spoken to be understood. His breath has slowed now, deeper, nearer to sleep. You don't want to wake him. You don't want to move, but soon you will. You'll rise, dress, slip your shoes back on, gather your things and step quietly into a world that won't know what you just lived through, but you will, and it will live in you. Not as a story you tell, but as a moment you keep, like a soft constellation inside your chest, dot, one night, dot, one sky, one slow, gentle chapter where you were seen, and you stayed long enough to see yourself. 2, you breathe in once more, and the ceiling stretches wide above you, and you whisper inside your mind softly, lovingly, "Let this be enough, dot. There are days that pass so quickly you forget what they were made of. Hours swept into meetings, errands, doorways, faces you greet but don't really see. Time blurs, but not this one. This day stretches in a different way, as if time knows something has changed inside you, as if it too is walking a little more slowly, a little more carefully, so it doesn't disturb the silence you brought with you when you left his arms. You carry it now, not like a secret, not like a burden, but like a souvenir no one else can see. It rests quietly somewhere just beneath your ribs. A stillness that wasn't there before. A softness in the places where you used to armor yourself. No one asks about it. No. One sees the way your fingers rest more calmly in your lap. The way your eyes hold the world for just one breath longer before turning away. But you feel it. You know, you walk through the morning light with that silence wrapped around you, still warm. It doesn't try to speak. It doesn't tug at you with what ifs or questions. It just stays gentle, watchful, like a melody you only hear when the world gets quiet enough. And the world does feel quieter now, not because it changed, but because you did. You pause at a crosswalk. Watch the way light plays on the windshield of a passing car. Feel the breeze tug at your sleeves. The city moves on. But inside you, the night continues, not in memory, but in presence. It lives in the way you touched your teacup this morning. In the way you noticed the warmth of the ceramic, the curl of steam, the taste that lingered longer than it used to. You didn't rush it. You didn't scroll while you sipped. You let yourself be there entirely. And in that quiet presence, he was with you not as a thought, but as an echo. He is part of the silence now, not the kind that isolates, but the kind that holds. That space where you were seen and did not flinch, where you were touched and did not vanish, where you gave yourself without disappearing. That stays, even now, especially now. You glance at your phone once, then tuck it away. There's no message from him, and you don't expect one. But you don't feel abandoned. You don't feel uncertain, because the night was never about continuation. It was about depth. It was about truth inside a single suspended moment, and that moment had already been complete. And yet, here you are, still carrying it, still full from it, still quietly changed. Later, you sit at a cafe alone, not lonely, just still. The chair across from you remains empty but not hollow. You imagine for a second that he's there, not physically, but in how you listen more carefully now. And how you notice the woman near the window reading slowly. How you hear the barista's laughter behind the counter. How you feel the light as it moves along your table like water over stone. He taught you this without knowing, not through conversation, but through presence, not through words, but through the space between them. And now that space lives in you. It makes room for things you used to rush past. Your own feelings, your own stillness, the parts of you that don't shout but whisper. You sip your drink. The flavor is soft, almost floral. You wouldn't have noticed that before. You sit with it. You sit with yourself. You let the silence be. What it is, not emptiness, but aftermath, not absence, but memory softened to breath. At home that night, you take off your shoes slowly, fold your sweater, dim the lights, and once again, you find yourself lying on your back, watching the ceiling. It doesn't look like stars this time. It looks like the inside of your mind, calm, curved, clouded by soft thoughts that don't need to be named. You don't need him here to feel him. You don't need more to know. It was real. Some people pass through your life and leave noise. Others leave music. But the rarest leave silence. Not the kind that asks for answers. The kind that is the answer. And so you carry that silence like a souvenir, folded in your breath, etched into the space behind your ribs. And whenever life rushes too loud again, you'll return to it. Not to the night, but to the version of yourself who opened, who was seen, who stayed soft. And that will be enough. You don't talk about the night, not to friends, not even to yourself out loud. Not because you're hiding it, but because it feels too still to be spoken. like the surface of a quiet lake. Some things, you know now, will lose their shape if pulled into words too quickly. They belong to silence, and they stay truer there. The night lives in you. You feel it in small places, when your fingertips pause on your sweater, sleeve a moment longer before pushing your arm through, when your eyes linger on the golden rim of morning sunlight skimming your windowsill, when someone asks you how you've been, and instead of reaching for something bright or clever, you just smile quietly. Enough you don't say what changed. You just live differently now, because that kind of touch, the kind that doesn't demand, that only sees, reshapes the space inside you. It gives you back something you didn't know you'd handed away over the years, softness without fear. Move more slowly now, not because you are dazed, but because you are deliberate. You place your mug down gently. You notice the weight of your shoes on your feet. You look up at the sky more. There are still to-do lists, still emails, still errands, phone calls, weather. But beneath all of it is a kind of echo of presence. Not his exactly, yours, the version of yourself that was allowed to unfold, to be held without explanation, to be touched without being asked to shrink. That version lives with you now, and you're still learning how to walk with her in the past. You might have dismissed the night as nothing serious, just a moment, just a stranger, but now you know better. There's no such thing as just. A moment can be a mirror. A stranger can be a pause in the rhythm of your life that lets you hear your own music more clearly. You find yourself responding differently to things. When someone interrupts you, you don't shrink. When you stand alone in a room full of people, you don't rush to fill the space. When your phone is quiet, you don't feel lacking. You're learning how to let stillness stay. It's not that you don't remember him, you do. You always will, not in flashbacks or longing, but in the way your body now remembers what it felt like to be held, not for shape, but for presence. In the way your mind remembers that the best closeness is the kind that never asks you to perform. Sometimes, in passing moments, you wonder what he's doing now. Whether he's lying somewhere with a new sky above him, whether he thinks of the ceiling, of the quiet, of the slow breath you shared, that you don't dwell there. You don't need to, because the gift wasn't him. It was how he made space for you to return to yourself, and that you've kept, you carry it into your conversations, now into your kindnesses. You speak slower, you listen longer, you no longer rush to fix silences. You allow them. Sometimes in those silences, people soften in front of you, as if your presence is a mirror too. And something in you smiles. Maybe this is how it continues. Not in reunion, not in messages, but in the quiet ripple effect of tenderness that passes on. The world remains busy. Loud. Distracted. But you walk differently now, not floating, not disconnected. Just. Present. You feel the texture of moments more deeply. The chill in your sleeves, the heat of tea on your tongue, the softness of your sheets at the end of the day. You let them hold you, and in doing so, you hold yourself. There's a quiet power in that. You never asked the night to change you, but it did. Not all at once. Not with fireworks, but with a steady breath, a soft hand, an unspoken yes. And now, long after, you touch the world differently because someone once touched you without asking for anything but truth. And now you carry that truth into every room. Every silence, every morning sky. Not looking back, not searching, just living. Fully. Softly. Here. It's been days now. Maybe weeks. You don't count, you live. You wake each morning with the same ritual: stretch, breathe, sip, begin. Life continues. But under the skin of it all, something hums, quiet and steady, like a soft current beneath the surface of an ordinary sea. There is no message, no new memory to pin to him, and yet nothing has faded. The night hasn't slipped away. It's become something quieter, not a recollection, but a rhythm, not a longing, but a lens. You touch your own arm while brushing sleep from it in the morning and think of the way you did not with desire, but with presence. You turn out the light at night and feel again the hush you shared, the ceiling you once watched together like a sky full of invisible stars. He's not here, and still, you don't feel alone because some part of you that used to feel far away has returned. The you who rests before reacting, the you who listens to your own breath. Like it's enough. The you who no longer needs everything to last in order for it to mean something. The world still asks things of you: work, noise, distractions, but you answer it now from a different place, a quieter one. You don't rush to prove anything. You don't grip people too tightly. You've learned something that has no name: how to be full without possession, moved without maps, known without definition. And more than anything, you've learned that not everything has to turn into a story. Some things simply become part of your fabric, like a scent you carry long after it's left the room, like music you hear in your sleep that no longer needs a melody to stay with you. A pair of eyes that once saw you fully in silence, and because of that, you now see yourself more clearly than ever before. You don't revisit the night often, but when you do, it isn't with ache. It's with a slow exhale, a soft folding of memory into your hands. You touch it like a worn river stone, smooth with time, warm with meaning. You recall the ceiling, the weight of your head on his chest, the way your breath and his met in the middle like two travelers sharing the same fire for one night only. And you remember this most of all: you didn't need to be held forever. You only needed to be held right. You walk differently now, not because you were waiting for someone to arrive, but because you no longer feel like someone is missing. You know how to return to yourself now. You know what it feels like to be met without armor. And so when the day is done and the light fades and you find yourself lying alone, watching the ceiling again, it no longer feels empty. It feels familiar. Like the sky above a night that changed you quietly. You don't need to recreate it. You only need to remember that you lived it. And because of that, you're full, not with answers, but with something better. Peace. And now the story settles. Not with a door closing, not with a promise broken or kept, just a quiet breath. Let go. You carry no name, no vow, no title, only the memory of a night that moved through you like music and left behind a silence you now understand. Ceiling is still there, the world still spins, and you're softer now, whiter, more whole than before, not because he stayed, but because you did. With yourself, and nothing has been lost, because nothing real ever is. So sleep now. With no one to hold, and still you are full.